be going over my personal experiences with the film emulation plugin Dehancer. If you're interested in trying the plugin right away, I've included in the description a link to the free trial version as well as a personalized 10% off discount code for their pro license if you like what you see. Dehancer has lent me the full pro license for a few months to try out the plugin myself and provide my honest feedback on it. Other than the small residual I get from the code if you use it, they did not pay me or have any say in the making of this video. Let's get started. Now, this is not in any way a scientific or formal camera test. After being inspired by PTA's camera test for a phantom thread, I've simply found some photogenic spots around my mom's house and backyard. I bothered some friends and family and set up a few lights to test the different exposures as well as the color and quality of lights and how it appears with the film look applied. I've also dug through some of my own archives to find some of my favorite old footage to see how Dehancer works when working with footage shot without Dehancer in mind. Not to start off with a negative note, but unfortunately the two cameras I've used for my tests, the Red Scarlet Dragon and the Panasonic Lumix S1H, are not actually supported by Dehancer. The Dragon I may understand, as it is 2 generations old now, although it is generally regarded as one of Red's best sensors, so I do hope, but also severely doubt, that it may be supported in the future. However, my Lumix S1H is only around 4 years old, and I am surprised to see its smaller, albeit younger brothers such as the S5 II and GH5 supported, but again, only in Vlog L. Please Dehancer, at least support the S1H, as I find its image to be the best out of any camera under $6 grand and hope to use it far in the future. For the upcoming tests, I simply chose the closest sensor as I could, the Helium and S5 II respectively. Undeterred by the lack of camera support, I still wanted to see which picture profile is best to capture with Dehancer in mind, log or Rec 709. Unsurprisingly, shooting a log would still preserve the most usable dynamic range and color information, and it produces a beautiful image compared to the default Rec 709 source straight out of camera. If you have the option to shoot in log, do it. A handful of my old projects were shot in Rec 709, so you can test yourself if you can tell the difference without looking at the text and whether or not it really matters. For the red, and raw footage in general, I wanted to see whether or not setting a technical Rec 709 LUT in the red raw settings first, and then matching Dehancer's Rec 709 profile is preferred over simply keeping the footage flat and allowing Dehancer to apply its grade once you've chosen the correct camera source. Much like the log vs Rec 709 tests, keeping the raw footage flat seems to be preferred over Dehancer's default Rec 709 source. When I first heard about Dehancer and their unique approach to film emulation, the first question that came to my mind was whether or not it was capable of replicating the photochemical process of developing your film in a particular manner. I never had the opportunity to shoot motion picture film, but have shot plenty of stills in 35 or 120mm. It is a pretty well-known technique called printing or timing down for both cinema and still photographers to either push or pull the exposure by a stop when metering your scene, with the intention of compensating the exposure in the darkroom. For example, if I'm shooting with a 250D base ISO, I may rate my light meter for something like 125D. Due to the scale readings on the light meter, I would have to increase the light output to boost the exposure to match my new settings. That would, of course, overexpose the overall image, which generally is a no-no when exposing digitally, as your whites will clip into an unusable muddied gray. However, film has quite a bit of latitude in the highlights to bring back down, so it is a common technique among film photographers to overexpose your image rather than underexpose. When the difference of exposure is compensated correctly in the darkroom and development process, i.e. developing longer to compensate for the lack of exposure or shorter for an overexposed image, is a unique look that cinematographers go through lengthy testing processes to achieve their look. As of now, I've unfortunately never had the opportunity to shoot motion picture film, and even more unfortunate, have never stepped in a dark room for my stills, so I really don't have a lot of real-world experience to compare these two. For my uninitiated eyes, the resulting image is still usable and even beautiful. I am just not sure if this is how it looked when gone through the photochemical process. So my lucky viewers who I have shot on film before, please educate me and the rest of the comment section whether or not you find these comparisons accurate. For these tests, I have used the Red Dragon and adjusted the RAW settings to match the testing parameters. So your mileage may vary if you're not shooting in RAW. I did discover after performing these comparisons that Dehancer already has a built-in parameter for this technique, where you push or pull your footage via exposure slider. The final thing I want to quickly test revolved around the effect your lens choice can make in the Dehancer process. I shot quite a few of my projects with my set of vintage Nikon lenses for a very specific look and feel old glass can produce, but I've also come to appreciate the resolution and fidelity a modern lens paired with its preferred sensor can provide. My Lumix 24-105 f4 is my sharpest and cleanest lens I own, in both resolution and color reproduction, and when paired with the S1H, the image, in my opinion, is much more comparable to a higher-end camera like an Alexa. I was fully aware that my Nikons tend to shift slightly more green when compared to the Lumix lens, but I was surprised to see how much of an effect the slight color shift would have in the Dehancer process. But when I paired my Nikon lens with my anamorphic setup, the shift in color became way too dramatic to compensate for in post. I find the look that my custom anamorphic lens paired with the sharp sensor of a Red or its S1H is just too alluring to resist though. Once I build out this lens to be a single focus setup, I'll probably never take it off my camera. One final note I must add before finishing up this video is that Dehancer may be taxing on your computer, at least the Premiere version, as to be completely honest, this can very much be a Premiere issue, not Dehancer, as I've had so many issues with Adobe just this past year. I have a fairly decent rig, but I've noticed after applying the Dehancer effect onto my clips, the playback speed gets severely chuggy and render times skyrocket, whether it's in effects preview or in the final render. Changing the pause and real-time playback resolution to a quarter for the most part solved my issue, but who wants to do that? This honestly may be the push I need to ditch Premiere after almost 10 years of use and jump on the DaVinci bandwagon, but that's another topic entirely. I pinpointed the cause to old Sony a7 III Rec 79 footage, which, by the way, I was also surprised to see a lack of S-Log support for such a popular hybrid camera. After removing the problem footage, the project rendered correctly. I did notify Dehancer support team who have been very helpful and proactive in helping me troubleshoot this issue. Thumbs up for positive customer support. So to summarize, my real only critiques at this time would revolve around the lack of camera support and the optimization in Premiere Pro. I do plan on doing a much deeper dive in comparing Dehancer's photography film stock with their IRL counterparts, using my Nikon and maybe even in large format as well. But as of now, I would definitely recommend this to any filmmaker or content creator out there that is searching specifically for an approachable and effective tool in emulating film for their videos. I haven't even mentioned all the other parameter Dehancer provides that may replace Lumetri entirely for my personal workflow, so I'm excited to continue this journey with Dehancer. And if you're interested in learning more about the plugin, consider subscribing as I have quite a few videos planned revolving around the software. Please let me know if you have any thoughts about the video and subject matter. And if you have any suggestions or comments to help improve this channel and your viewing experience, please do not hesitate to let me know. Between working a full-time job 50 miles away and picking up cinematographer gigs on weekends, I don't really have a lot of time or energy, so leaving a like would definitely help me know I'm not wasting my efforts. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll probably see you never.